He's known as the man with the beret. He has managed Intel PC Client Group with revenues of over $35 billion a year. He loves doing the exceptional, and he has been named by Forbes magazine as one of the world's 10 most brilliant technology professionals. I'm talking about Mr. Muli Eden, a senior VP of Intel Global and the Intel Israel president, who will describe some of Intel Israel's most interesting project and his vision about collaboration between global corporates and Israeli high-tech industry. And maybe he will describe how we can take some of ARM market share in the mobile.
Bring it on, baby.
So please welcome Mr. Muli Eden.
Sure, thank you. I see that everything here beside my presentation. So I've used a few notes that I wrote while I was sitting over here. And, I didn't know, I said, guys, coming to Tzaf Shmone phones, we are the microprocessor guys, although lately we come to the phone business. And then they say, we want you to speak about the culture and how to behave with customers, and if you can speak a little bit about the phones. And by the way, ARM is going to be there. So the Israeli culture. They know the Israeli culture. I say, ARM is going to be there? They say, yes. I say, I'm going to be there as well. And by the way, big mistake, I say, make sure that I'm after him. So I'll start speaking a little bit about the phone if you'll find the presentation. And I will consider, and I'll finish with, I'll do it very briefly because I don't believe it's a PR campaign. And I'll try to speak about my experience about dealing with customer abroad. And I'm sure that in Tzaf Shmone, you'll meet many people in Barcelona that you'll need to speak. Now, before me, I believe Danny Gillerman apologized for his voice, right? I'll have to apologize for my accent. If you don't have a clue about what I'm talking, listen the way that I speak, from right to left. It will make much more sense. And when I was introduced, they say, if you have a smartphone, you probably have one of the chip inside it. We are here to fix it, so it's okay. But at the end of your presentation, you say you like to see a healthy competitive environment. And at the end of the day, jokes aside, I believe what's very important for everybody is to have a healthy, competitive environment. It's good for everybody. It's good for us, putting us out of the comfort zone. Definitely, it's good for the ecosystem. And a good competition is always good for everybody. At the end of those times, you have to go through some rough time. So let me give you just a glimpse where Intel is in the smartphone area, because I will not argue with any one of the trends that you say. I believe a lot of the trends, we see them. We are not speaking in Intel about computers anymore. We are speaking about computing. And for me, computing is anything that has a socket. Is a computing, because what is computing? It's phones, it's tablet, it's PCs. Pretty soon it will be the wearables. I don't know how many of you have it, and you know exactly how many steps you are doing and everything. It's going to be all over, and this is the things. With respect to the smartphone, I believe it's very interesting, and I believe this is the reason that we are trying to go over there. We identified. If you look what you are doing today on a smartphone, it's definitely not the traditional things that you did on a phone. You are doing browsing the internet, you're checking your email, social networking, take picture, location application, natural interface, ways was presented here before. Let's admit, voice and texting is just two applications on a smartphone, and most of the time, 90% of your time, you are not talking on a smartphone and you are not texting on a smartphone. You use it for other things. The thing which is important for us is that it's called smartphone. And if you notice year over year, the smartphone is getting smarter and smarter and not funnier and funnier. Smarter is our business. So that's definitely when we are going to go. What we are trying to do, and this is definitely kind of competition, but as I say, it's a healthy one. We believe that people expect, first of all, to have software compatibility, and the same piece of hardware will be able to run Android, will be able to run Windows, will be able to run iOS. You choose freely which operating system you want to address. We'll try to deliver a platform that can run on everything. I believe this is one of the things. And with respect experience and performance, I agree. Intel used to speak about performance. I believe the word today is power performance. It's been performance within an envelope, but I do believe that performance is still very, very relevant. I read an article, so I'm not sure it's right. Maybe you know it, but the people said that the difference in performance between iPhone 5 and the first iPhone is 1 to 50. So no doubt about it that Apple knows that you need the performance, and I believe the more performance we have within the right envelope, definitely the better experience we'll be able to deliver to our users, and that's what we are doing. Getting into phone, definitely you are going to meet there many of the customers. By the way, and I believe many of the customers are developing today both on ARM. Some are starting experimenting on Intel solution. Some of the Intel solutions have been developed over here in Israel, and I'll come to it in a second. And actually, we are trying to address, this is the phone that we introduced here lately. This is the one phone, at least in the room, that have got an Intel solution inside. And we are addressing two segments. One is the mid-range, upper range of the smartphones, which is represented by Orange or by Motorola. And the other one is the emerging market, mainly India, China, potentially Brazil. And this is more kind of the entry level for people that are more conscious on the money but want to be more on the entry level. So this is a line of phones that have been going specifically for emerging market. And as you said before, definitely GDC is going to be a place when all the companies are going to do a lot of announcement. But definitely for the people over here, and I know that people are going to go there to do a business, as an Israeli and as an Intel person, but definitely as an Israeli, if you need to have any matchmaking with Intel Corporation, I'll be more than glad to do it. And if you need any matchmaking disregarding Intel, which is relevant, that we can open the door, definitely me and my colleagues from Intel Capital will be more than glad to help, even if it's not directly related to Intel. These are the two roadmaps that we are doing. So as I mentioned, we are going to develop solutions here and here. And I believe the interesting things that we are doing today, we are not developing microprocessors, we are developing full solution of a phone, which we call FFRD, Form Factor Reference Design. We give it to our customers, and they're doing all the development on top of it. So this is a little bit about, we believe that we can speak about the phones. I believe competition will be there. The future will tell you who is going to be right, who is going to be wrong, but definitely there'll be very interesting competition in the phone market. Speaking about us, Israelis, beside the cute accent that we have, everybody speaks about the Israeli startup nation. By the way, don't give this book to any American. He got already 2 copies, trust me. So he read it inside out. I believe it's a great book, and I said it in the press conference 2 days ago, because it shows what's special about us. It's also a very risky book, because this book actually speaks about how great we are. We've got, by the way, beside the US, we've got most companies registered in NASDAQ, tiny Israel, etc. But actually what this book is describing is actually what that we are harvesting, what we implemented 20 years ago, 15 years ago, including one-time injection of the Russian immigration. This says nothing about what's going to happen 20 years from now, and I elaborated on it 2 days ago in the yearly press conference in Intel. It was misinterpreted like threatening and stuff like this. You do not threaten your country. I'm here, my kids here, and my grandkids here, so I'm not threatening anything. I just don't want to be complacent. I want to make sure that we live a very nice place for the people that follow us to live. And the question that I was asking myself is, what makes us a startup nation? Is there anything special about the Israeli engineer? And I fully agree with what Dan Gellerman said before. That's what's happened. That's what you are selling when you are going to sit over there. You are going to sit as individuals. And I believe definitely yes, there is something special in the Israeli engineer. Notice that I say something special or something different. I'm not saying, anybody from the press, raise your hand. Get up, leave the room. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not saying they're the best in the world. I said they're different, and for some kind of tasks, they can be outstanding engineers. And I believe that's what made this. For example, if you look at the Israeli engineer, he's totally undisciplined. Israelis are chaotic. They're chaotic nature, and I'm known for my management style. I believe that innovation strives on chaos. Innovation do not grow on processes. You cannot bring everybody to the room. 1, 2, 3, let's start innovating. So whenever I came to a place, by the way, in the US, it was really traumatic, both to me and to my subordinate. First of all, I create a chaos. And then I'm trying to rein and control the chaos. But the chaos must be there. I love chaos. It's beautiful. Really, I'm not kidding. Israelis is chaotic by its nature. By the way, is it education system? No, this is the one case that you don't need to blame the education system. If you go to the US, by the way, I was 10 years in the US. I'm chaotic. I went for 7 months. I came back after 10 years. And I came in last year, so I lived for 10 years in the US. You go to the supermarket. A mother is walking in the supermarket. A 3-year-old is walking after the mommy. And she's doing shopping. You go to Israeli supermarket, some small creature is storming and screwing and ruining the whole supermarket, and the mommy is running, Moshe, no, Moshe, no. He was not at school. Is it the way that he was brought up? I do not know, by the way, I don't have the answer. But definitely you can see the difference in the 3-year-old. If you speak about the engineers, you've been in the US. When you're in the US and tell the engineer to do something, what's happened? He does it. When you come to an Israeli engineer and say, do it, the first thing that you hear, why? You hear it. For example, to a room in the US, I don't know if you went to this trauma, and you go to the next cubicle and you try to understand what he's doing. The answer is, mind your own business. In Israel, everything is my own business. What do you mean, mind my own business? And you know, maybe I always tell people that explain equal exaggerate and simplify. And intentionally, I'm exaggerating a little bit to make a point, but the point is still valid. I believe the way that we think, the way that you are looking around yourself and you want to know everything, that's the essence of a system engineer. A system engineer is not the expert in A, B, C, D. He's the one that needs to understand everything. It's our nature. So again, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but there is a difference, and I believe there is something that we can offer to others. I was asked by Yael, where's Yael? It means we were not very well aligned, because when I came over here and saw what people are talking, I said, shit, I'm going to need to improvise around my presentation. And you know that when something is not very clearly defined in the Middle East, it's almost a reason for a small war, but I'll skip it this time. He said, Muli, rules of engagement. So I was sure that when I'll come over here, I'll see many, many people from startups, and I'm going to go to this teenager, 25, 28 years old. I'm going to tell them how to speak with the customers. I look at you. Most of you are my age, a little bit less. What can I tell you that you don't know? So let's laugh together. The young people here definitely will understand. Why can I tell you about the rules of engagement with business people? Because I'm an expert. I did every possible mistake in the world. They took me 10 years ago, a blunt engineer, microprocessor engineer. My boss probably was drunk, don't write it. And they invite me to the US to be director of marketing. At that time, it was $20-something billion business. You do not take a blunt Israeli engineer, put him on marketing. So I learned, but I have to tell you, I learned the hard way. So first of all, you need to be genuine. You need to be yourself, but you need to understand the culture. And definitely, you don't need to be rude. Guys, there's no good culture or bad culture. I don't think that the Brazilian culture is better than the Israeli culture. I don't believe the Israeli culture is better or the British culture. It's not better, or it's just different. And if you use your own culture, you might get into a big trouble. Okay, so one of the things, and I believe you heard it before, try to understand the other culture that you go there, and it's okay to have a local guy with you. I will not go to speak in China or in Japan without somebody telling me. You know, this morning it was almost painful for me to go out of my sneakers and jeans, but I heard the ambassador of Korea is going to come. I went immediately into my penguin dressing. You'll never see me like that. Yesterday, the press conference. Why? Because I know that the code of conduct in this country, if I'll come with the jeans and sneakers, it will not be considered very respectful. In the US, when I go to visit Dell or HP, I can go with the jeans and sneakers because most of the chance my counterpart will appear with jeans and sneakers as well. And for that reason, when I go to do business in a country that I don't know, I ask the locals, guys, what's the code of dressing? How should I appear? What am I allowed to say? What I'm not allowed to say? Are they friendly? How do you do the business? Do you do it in the meeting or you do it after the meeting? How much do I need to know to drink? If you do business in Korea, you better know. Because that's when you're going to close the deal at the end of the day. It's not always in the room. Sometimes it's in the evening. So first of all, rule of engagement. Be careful when translating from Hebrew. I believe I wrote it here because it was amazing. Dubi is still here? He'll pay for it. He said when he was speaking with one of his guys, Shuki, In the US, he told him, no, no, you are wrong. If you say in the US, no, no, you are wrong, you start in the wrong foot. Because you kind of nail him to the wall. Now, what is he supposed to do? It's mean you didn't leave him any place. In the US, you don't tell anybody you are wrong. You tell him, I'm not sure I'm following you. Can you reiterate? Can we think about it together? How about reconsidering the subject? What you mean actually is that he is wrong. But they've got their own way to say something, and you've got your way. And guys, when I hear the Israelis, my subordinates, coming to the US and saying something, you are wrong, I shiver because that sounds rude. And by the way, when Israelis say you are wrong, he's not just saying, he's using gesture. I'm now an expert in gesture. I'm working on gesture. He's doing like this. You are wrong, and give this twist to the face. So you'll know that he's wrong. And Paolo Tellini, my CEO, always, when he's coming to Israel, he's giving his speech. Any question, 2 years guys, Intel come and say something, ask a question. Paolo Tellini, my CEO, definitely give him the corporate answer. And the guys wake up and say, Paul, yes, you do not get it. You are wrong. Let me explain to you. And Paul always asks me, what is this? And I told him, this is to make a point. Guys, it's to make a point in Israel. It's not always to make a point in other culture. It might sound very, very offensive. And I'm telling you, when I listen to English and Dov say you are wrong, I was kind of jumpy. I will not tell American you are wrong. By the way, I do not let the American telling me that Israeli are blunt. I say, I'm not blunt. You're mellow. What do you mean I'm blunt? We are just different. You do not like me to measure you using my culture. Please don't judge me, measure your culture. And what I'm asking you when you go to do a business, make sure that you understand the other, or make sure that you've got something local. In general, if I look at culture that I learn, and I spend a lot of time in the world, and I like to travel when I'm on vacation, Israel is a nature, is much more open, blunt, and direct. And our directness is not, many times, is translated to impoliteness. Let's be tachles. Let's talk to the point. Not every culture do it this way. If I look this, what you gesture I say, this is not very successful. You know, for example, Americans, they care very much about their safety zone, security zone, privacy zone. And many times I say, how many people go into American elevator? 3, 4, 5, and then they've got the safety zone. How many Israelis go into an elevator? How many people are in the corridor? They just squeeze inside, they will go inside, and that's it. You know, you've got 5, 5 will be inside, you'll be 15, 15 will go inside. And in Israel, it's okay. In the US, you need to wait for the other guys to go out. And again, this is the things going with it. Build personal relation, we are good at it. Guys, speaking about Israel, and I loved what Dan Gillerman said, because you are what you are. We are very open. And you know, when I was working in the US, as a culture, we are very friendly. It's beautiful. Most of my customers, after 1 year, were not my customers. They've been my friends. It's an asset. We are good in it. We are open. It's very easy for us to invite people. And Danny Gillerman said, if you want to be good ambassador for Israel, invite them to Israel. All my customers, Fujitsu and NEC and Dell and HP, everybody is coming to visit me in Israel, and I take 1 or 2 days off, and I take them to Jerusalem. And the first comment was, this is not what we have seen on CNN. This is not, people are not shooting each other in the street and stuff like this. The impression is so wrong if you watch TV that this is definitely what as ambassador we can do. And for example, another thing, I was in the US, they will invite you to a restaurant. In Israel, it's very common to invite somebody to your house. You cannot imagine what will be the reaction of a Japanese or somebody else that I invited him to my house and my wife catered for us. Don't be shy about it. I believe we are very friendly. By the way, there's also consequences, because many times I was in the US and people start telling me the problems, and I almost gave the standard Israeli and told them, moment, I'm not the Wailing Wall. Why are you crying on my shoulder? Because I find out that it's easy for them to come and tell me their private issue than tell even a friend from the same culture, because we are much more accepting, much more openness. So what I'm saying, guys, please use it. Engage wide, close narrow. Again, look at each one of the cultures. You can speak with everybody, 20, 30 people in the room, but sometimes in order to close the deal, you need to go and try to sit only with 1 person or 2 persons. There are cultures that if you sit with the CEO or the general manager on the table, 30 people, and you don't agree with him and you criticize him, in front of his subordinate, he will lose face. If you'll do it over a glass of wine or a glass of sake in the evening, that's fully politically correct. Again, the local people will be able to give you a hint what's right or wrong in culture. And again, sometimes it's painful to see how people can lose deals of things because they've been misinterpreted. Respect your competition. And I hope that you felt that I respect you. Guys, don't badmouth your competition. Respect them. By the way, respect does not mean that you're not going to compete with them, that you're not going to try to fight with them for share, that you're not going to do anything possible to win the market, but still respect. First of all, complacent in our business, it's stupidity. And second, there's no reason why you're not complacent. They've got brilliant engineers. In some cases, they've been able to do a better job than us. If you badmouth something, you're not helping anybody else. More than important over here, it's okay to do comparison. I'll do side-by-side demo with ARM, and I'll show that I take less power than them. They'll do side-by-side demo if they believe they've got. It's factual, and it's okay to do it. Bad mouth or stuff like this, it's very bad practice. Another thing that's happened to you when you're with your customers, and I'll end in 2 minutes, is people will look at you and try to understand what the other guys told you. And they'll be very friendly. Okay, so what exactly HP and Dell are doing? You've been there 3 days ago, and you almost have the temptation to be friendly. The minute you tell them anything, they know that you'll go to the other competitors and you tell them about them. Big mistake. Tell them, guys, by the way, if you want to be really mean, say, I know the answer to what their appetite, but then but if I'll tell you, and I'll not respect their privacy, you know that I will not respect your privacy with other customer, and for that reason I ask you to forgive me, but I'm not going to elaborate. And I believe this is and the other thing is, guys, in general, be patient, business take time. You're sitting in the meeting, you cannot close. To close, the Israeli corner. First of all, as an Israeli, I believe we've got something which is special, and I believe we care about our economy, about our business, our country. And for that reason, I'll challenge you. I'll go to your CEO, and I'll try to persuade him to open a design center in Israel, because you've got the most brilliant engineers of microprocessor in Israel. And then I'm going to compete with you to death until I get the best engineers. But I'm not kidding. I will go, and I believe it's not me, guys. I say I, but I believe almost everybody. And every 2 weeks somebody asks me, are you willing to speak with my CEO? I'm happy that Apple is coming to Israel, really. We'll have better high tech. Then I'll compete. And I'm competing with Google on the engineers, and with Microsoft. It's healthy, and I believe that's unique about Israel. And I say, you're not only representing yourself, at the end of the day, our behavior, the way that we talk, everything is representing Israel. Let's get more business to Israel. I believe it's important. We've seen what's happening. Personally, I'm very afraid that we are not growing at the right pace. And the most important thing, we should not be shy, and I believe Danny said it about corridor discussion and formal discussion. Even if we'll be attacked, etc., let's do what we are best in. And what we are best in is simply being Israelis. Thank you very much.